Hey guys, today on Robbie's Reviews, I'm reviewing the 2020 BMW M8 Competition Coupe. I just want to thank my friend Adrian for allowing me to review his new M-powered beast, see what it's like to drive, and check out any cool new features and gadgets. Let's go check it out. Here she is, the 2020 BMW M8 Competition Coupe. This example is finished in Alpine White with the Shakir Orange and Black interior. And it features the distinctive huge kidney grills in the gloss black, as well as all the gloss black accents around the front. Going down the side, you have the vents here with the black M8 logo. The black mirror caps, that nice big carbon fiber roof. Going around the back, you follow the gloss black window trim. You have the gloss black competition wheels. And around back, it takes you to a gloss black ducktail trunk spoiler. Gloss black exhaust tips, the big diffuser, which is also gloss black, and to finish it all off, the M8 competition badge in the back, finished in black. Now the M8 might be a new model for 2020, but the 8 Series designation has been around for many years. There was actually a V12 and a V8 variant at one point, but they did away with the car for several decades, and now for 2020 they've brought back the 8 Series in the form of the M850i, which came out a year or so ago. Now you have the M8 Competition Coupe, which is designated as the F92 chassis code. Then you have the F91, which is the convertible, and the F93, which is the Grand Coupe. So the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 that is actually also in the F90 M5 and the X5M and X6M produces 591 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque in the non-competition M8. However, this being the competition, it produces 617 horsepower with the torque remaining the same. And it's made it to an 8-speed torque converter ZF transmission. It's actually called M Steptronic, and it's also shared with the F90 M5. It's a fantastic transmission that has snappy gear shifts and is smooth when you want it to be, and it can also shift very hard when you want it to, thanks to those M1 and M2 driving modes, which we'll check out in a little bit. So the M8 gets from 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, and it goes all the way up to a top speed of 155 miles an hour. Now that's electronically limited, but with the optional M Drivers package, which also adds the high-speed rated tires, it changes the top speed limit to 190 miles an hour. No doubt the car is capable of more than that, but for safety reasons they have to limit it that. Alright, so now let's open the hood, check out that 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. Now being a BMW, you pull the hood latch twice. There's no real conventional hood latch system, really just the 2 pulls and it opens it right up. And you have the double latch system there. So here we have the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. You have the nice BMW M Power letters there, and all the looks like the dry carbon effect there. And there's really not much to look at. It's really just shoved back there. And there's a lot of plastic covers and all that, but the turbos are right in the middle there. It's a hot V configuration, similar to what Mercedes is doing. And it's really more of a front mid-engine V8, where most of the engine is sitting behind the front axle. And the same pattern kind of repeats up here. Now let's close it down. And the M8 Coupe actually features the latest in BMW's lighting technology. So instead of the regular adaptive LED headlights, you have the new BMW Laser, which apart from these very cool blue accents, it has basically smart headlights. So they're adaptive high beams and low beams. They're full LED. And that actually goes for the taillights as well. They're full LED units. We're going to turn them on in a second so you can check them out. And one thing I noticed that's similar to the 2020 750i that I reviewed is if you unlock the car, you have the mirrors that come out. But if you simply close the door and walk away without even touching the key, the car will just lock. So it's a nice little feature. Alright, now let's turn on the headlights and taillights. You guys can check them out. And unfortunately, we can't put the car in ignition or accessory, and if we just put the headlights on and walk away, the car will lock. So we do have to start it. Here's the start button here. We've got the headlight controls over here. So we got the headlights on now. As you can see, they are very, very bright. So there's multiple LEDs inside each projector, and they each can turn and move and adapt to the traffic situation. Hence the BMW laser. They see very, very far down the road. Actually, I'll put the hazard lights on so you can see too. So the little eyebrow lights at the top, they turn amber with the turn signals and the hazard lights. And there's no switchbacks, you just have the constant DRLs, the halos, which actually dim a little bit so that you can see the turn signals. You have LED indicators as well in the mirrors, nice and bright. And then moving on to the back, to the full LED taillights. You have the DRLs at the same time as the turn signals, which are red. Large red turn signals here. I'm sure in Europe they're amber, but unfortunately in the US we get red brake lights. You have that nice quad exhaust, and we'll get some sound clips in a little bit. It doesn't have enough miles to activate the track mode or launch control, but we'll still be able to get some cool driving clips. Now let's turn off the headlights and taillights. Go back to auto. Turn off the hazards. Close the door. And they're soft close, of course. And the first thing you notice is that optional amazing Bowers & Wilkins system, which we'll check out in a little bit. It's very similar to the Burmester high-end system that you get in the Mercedes-Benzes. And looking around, I actually haven't gotten a chance to review the M850i Coupe, which Adrian actually had before he got this M8 competition. However, I did sit inside it and kind of go through everything, and there isn't a large price difference between the two cars. You do get a lot for the money. A lot of people don't think it's worth it, but after driving the new M8 for an hour or so, it's definitely worth the extra money. You have the nice gloss carbon fiber trim here, the secure orange leather with the two-tone black full leather on the dashboard and the door panels. You have that nice hexagonal stitching there. It actually goes into the seats, form diamond stitching with the two-tone. And they're ventilated, heated, there's massage. It's really just a great seat. You have more Bowers & Wilkins speakers down here, as well as in the back. And they light up. There's actually ambient lighting in them, as well as the speakers back there on the trunk shelf. And you actually have the nice M-color stitching on the seatbelts. Very nice touch. And I'm not going to go in depth into the infotainment, as I actually already reviewed the 2020 7 Series. And the gauge cluster and the touchscreen here for the iDrive is really very similar, if not the same, just with the different skin for the cars. Here's the M8 competition, and then you would have the 7 Series for the 7 Series. And things like NFC wireless charging, you just close this to more carbon fiber. You have the M8 competition badge, all your AC controls, heated and cooled seats. Then you have your M1 and M2 shortcuts. So if you hit M2, it actually switches to Sport here. The way Adrian has M1 configured is the Sport engine, comfort suspension, Sport steering, and then the Sport braking. And if you go to M2 right here, it goes to Sport plus everything, and then Sport steering and Sport braking. But you can really configure it any way that you like. And here, similar to in the 750i and the F90 M5, you have the adaptive cruise control settings here, and you have these little LED indicators that will flash with different colors depending on the situation. So like yellow if the car wants you to touch the wheel, red if it really needs you to touch the wheel, and then green when it's actually doing the self-parking, which I'll showcase in a little bit. And you actually have a full Alcantara headliner, all the ambient lighting. It's just a nice place to be. And what I love is this interesting knurled design on the air vents. So they're digital, but they're also physical, so you have to move them up and down, but there's also LED indicators. And of course you have gesture controls. Turns the media and the radio off. You can raise the volume. Don't want to get a copyright, so I won't let the radio play for too long. And that's basically it. I mean, you have the nice M-color stitching all around the wheel. It's not a flat bottom wheel, it's round. I really would like if BMW started doing flat bottom steering wheels in their M cars, but it still is a very nice leather, thick rim steering wheel. You have the nice leather horn cover. You have the heated steering wheel button here, the M logo on the bottom. Nice wheel-mounted aluminum paddle shifters, which feel good. They have nice texturing in the back. You have a rev counter here. It's a full digital speedo. You actually have don't know if you guys can see this, these sensors basically look at your eyes to make sure you're looking at the road. And if you take your eyes off the road, then the lights here on the steering wheel, which we'll showcase in a little bit, they start to flash. You have the rev counter here. It sounds very good. Don't worry, we're going to get some sound clips in a little bit, as well as the driving footage. And let's see, down here you have your active exhaust button, your M mode setup. It's basically the individual modes, so you can change the chassis controls, braking, steering, engine, the MX drive. So the car is all-wheel drive, but you can put in rear-wheel drive mode just like the M5. You have your parking sensors, your 360 camera, just like the 7 Series and all the new BMWs that have the option. So you have the top-down view, and you have a 360 view, as well as the actual 3D view of the car itself, which is pretty cool. And you have backup assistant, automated parking, and you have things like media, home, map, communications, navigation, all the internet connection. There's a whole home mode. Takes you to all the little shortcuts. You can go to car, and menu. Then you have the experience modes, which is just like the 7 Series. Very similar to Mercedes-Benz with the energizing comfort. You have executive mode, expressive, well-being, and then just end. But it just changes things like the ambient lighting, the music, the temperature, the climate control, heated and cooled seats, stuff like that. And then you have your full color reconfigurable heads-up display there, if you guys can see that. And it shows you things like speed limit, the radio station, navigation when it's on. And it pretty much does it for the interior of the M8 Competition Coupe. There's really not much to it. Not much has drastically changed over the M850i. And all the technology inside is basically the same as the new 7 Series, the new M5, the X6, and the X5M. And any of the other models that have the same features and packages. So now we're going to go get some startup and rev clips as well as some driving footage. So my GoPro decided to brick itself, so I'm going to be using my iPhone instead for the driving footage. And luckily the M8 is a very easy car to drive with one hand, and it doesn't even have 1,200 miles yet, so I can't even really drive it too crazy, and I can't use launch control. So this is really just going to be a relaxed and laid back driving video. Let's see, after the stop sign I'm going to punch it a little bit. So as you can see, even without launch control, it really goes, especially with that X drive. The 0 to 60 is, I believe, 3.1 seconds, and some people have actually gotten 2.8 with launch control in obviously cold weather. Today it's not exactly cold, it's about 80 degrees or so. But nonetheless, the M8 is still driving amazingly. Now Adrian has two M settings, M1 and M2. Right now I have it in his M2 setting, which has it in Sport Plus for the engine and transmission, Sport Plus for the suspension, Sport for the steering, and Sport for the braking system. Now, this car is very responsive. The Sport steering is more than enough. I really wouldn't want any tighter than it is right now. So we've got the iPhone 11 Pro Max in wide angle mode. It's really nice. 4K at 60 frames per second. Actually records a lot nicer than the GoPro. So right now we're going to turn onto the road here. Give it a little gas. And the car moves with no problem. It is an absolute rocket ship. And it's not a light car. It weighs over 4,000 pounds. It's got a pretty long wheelbase for what it is. It's a large luxury coupe. Luxury performance coupe, I should say. And really does ride great. Even with the suspension in Sport Plus, the ride is firm, but also compliant. It doesn't send jolts directly up your spine. It's actually very nice. Got the rear wheel steering in action. And the car has a lot of pulling power. Over 600 horsepower and over 550 pound-feet of torque with the competition model. And for the adaptive cruise control, you just hit activate it here. Assisted driving. It wants us our hands on the wheel, so you see the red indicator there. You can actually see the cars as they're going in front of you and around you. As we get overtaken by an ATV. It actually picked it up as a motorcycle. That's pretty cool. So the car's taking over now. So now we're going to pop it back down into comfort. So we have the engine and transmission in efficient and everything else in comfort. Just sitting in South Florida traffic right now. Got the AC seats on with the massage going. Car's very, very quiet inside. The sound deadening is very, very nice. And it drives like a regular luxury car should. Let's put it back into M2. It's really just a lot more exciting to drive. Turn around here. Another quick pull. This thing really pulls like a freight train. I must say, this car is an absolute blast to drive. There's no situation it can't handle. For a big and heavy car, it actually handles really well. Thanks to the all-wheel drive and over 600 horsepower, it accelerates like any other sports car. I mean, it's just as fast as the M5, if not a little faster. And the interior is a lovely place to be. It's just like any nice luxury car should be. And it's not a cheap car. I mean, they're like 130 something grand, but for what you get, you know, you're getting a really nice car for the money. Alright guys, well that should do it for this review of the 2020 BMW M8 Competition Coupe. Once again, I just want to thank my friend Adrian for allowing me to review his new M-powered beast, and I'll see you next time.